In this video, I'm going to give you a couple of hints about how you could get started with your WordFun project. So first, I'm going to just give you a little review of how Substring works, and then I'll talk about swap ends, and then I'll give you a couple more little hints about how you might do the other functions. So hang in there. So let's say I have a word, and let's say that word is apples, and I want to use Substring to get part of that word apples. Well, first, just to remind you, the positions of the letters start at 0. So the A is really position 0, then position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the position of the last letter is 5. However, and I know this sometimes confuses students, the length of this word is actually 6, right? If you count the length, you actually start counting at 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The length of this word is 6, but the positions are 0 through 5. And I often use the example that, we have 10 digits in our number system, but the digits are 0 through 9, right? So you have to somehow remember that. There is no, if I ask for what's at position 6, oh, that's off the edge. Okay, so let's talk about what substring does. So if I have a word called apples and I ask for the substring, substring means part of the string. So if I ask for the substring, let's say 1, 4, as you know, substring gives you a starting position. So in this case, 1 is P, and it gives you every letter up to but not including the ending position. So if I ask for word.substring 1 to 4, it actually gives me what is at position 1, 2, and 3, which is P, P, L, right? Not including 4. Sometimes that confuses students. Okay, interesting. How would I just get the first letter of the word? Okay, let's take a look at that. Well, if I just want the first letter of this word, that would be letter A in this case. That would be starting from position 0, starting from position 0 up to, but not including 1. Yeah, that would get me the A, sure. How do I get the last letter of the word? Well, in this case, it's S. So the last letter of the word in this example would be the letter starting at position 5. Oops, I keep forgetting to click the pen there. Starting at position 5 up to, but not including position 6. Remember, position 6 is past the end. Okay, interesting. But let's say I don't know how long my word is. I mean, my word doesn't have to be apples. It could be anything. Well, is there a way that I can get the last letter if I don't know the length of the word? Yes, there is. You can get the length of the word by saying word.length. You know this, of course. And actually, in the project, I set a variable to this. I believe I say len, make a variable called len, and I set that equal to word.length. So we don't necessarily even care what the length of this thing is. So knowing that len is the length of the word, how can I get the last letter? Are you giving it some thought? Well, I can get the last letter of the word by starting from, and I'm going to remember to click the pen this time, by starting from the len minus 1, the length minus 1, right? Because the length is 6, minus 1 is 5. Oops, I forgot to say minus 1 there. I was starting from the length minus 1, going up to the length. Yeah, that's a comma, by the way, up to the length. This gets me the last letter. The length minus 1 in this case is 5, up to but not including position 6. Yeah, that gets me the length. Interesting. Now, of course, it turns out that when you use substring, if you just give one number in the parentheses, like if I say something like word.substring 3, let's say, oops, what does that do? I'm just putting one number in parentheses. Well, you might recall that that gives you everything starting from this position, excuse me, to the end of the word. So substring 3 in this case would give me LES. Okay, so I could really get the last letter of the word just by saying, I can get rid of this, just by saying len minus 1. So think about that. This gets me the last letter of the word. Okay. How would I get all of the letters except for the first and last? What would that be? That would be substring from what to what? Well, That would be substring starting from position 1. I want to go up to, but not including whatever is at position 5 in this case. Well, that's the len minus 1. Yeah, so this would get me everything except for the first and last letter. All right, let's go back and take a look at the program, shall we? So let's again look at swap ends and talk about how that works. Well, I already talked about this first part in the when I was writing on paper, very messy there. Len, of course, is just the length of the word. So, for example, if my word is apples, the length would be 6. So I'm now setting my word to 3 things concatenated together. Word.substring len minus 1. Well, len is 6, so len minus 1 is 5. That's the position of this s. And as you know, len minus 1, if you only give it one number, as I am here, it goes to the end. So word.len minus 1, yeah, that's the s in this case. It's the last letter, okay? I'm concatenating the last letter with this. Now, as I talked about in the last little piece, when I wrote on the piece of paper there, from 1 to len minus 1, that gives me everything but the first and last letter, okay? So that's sort of the middle part of the word. And then onto that, I'm concatenating this 0 up to but not including 1. That's the first letter of the word. So that's how these ends are being swapped. And actually, I can run swap ends, and you can see the A and the S are being swapped, right? So again, to swap ends, I'm concatenating the last letter plus the middle part of the word plus the first letter together. All right. So let's just think for a moment, how would I do shift right? Well, what's supposed to happen for shift right? Well, shift right is supposed to move all of the letters to the right, hence the shift right. And what happens to the last letter? Well, you have to take the last letter and move it to the beginning. So I think you could figure out how that works. I just have to concatenate the last letter with everything starting from position 0 up to, but not including the last letter. That's shift right. Shift left is going to be a little bit different. Shift left, I'm taking the first letter and putting that on the end, right? So I take the first letter, move it to the end. Well, I have to concatenate everything from the first letter, well, from the second letter to the end, concatenating that with the first letter. All right, and then swap halves, that's a little bit trickier, but I think you can work that out. That's going to involve getting all the letters from the beginning to the middle. Well, that's just the length divided by 2. And then the middle to the end, and then switching the 2 halves. So hopefully this was enough of a hint to get you started on your project. All right, good luck with it, and thanks for watching.